I got my Velvet Underground sunglasses on. I got a happening after this. I've got a full. I've got
And
a.
what cause to shall the poor girl wear?
I think this podcast is officially a happening. We're having a happening, everybody. Just so everybody knows, like Andy's in the corner, like just painting something incredible, and there's a weird German lady over there. Might be high on some form of psychedelics. No, so we
she goes.
so check this out, James. So we if you would, so just everybody knows, James, you want to tell everybody what happened? You almost were recording this. You got locked out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, take us there. Did that not
I
just
didn't
happen?
know.
Am I completely batshit crazy right now?
I didn't know that this was like a chat-worthy story.
Yeah,
It
dude,
just happened.
It's real. It's real, and the fans want real.
It hasn't become an anecdote yet, but now, okay, here we go. Yes, I went down to try to get coffee in the lobby. Of course, that was closed. And then coming back up with Pop-Tarts and apple juice, the key didn't work. So I had to do this whole ordeal of going down and convincing them that it was my room. Because the room's also not in my name. So it's in the name of the club owner, that's the way it goes. And so I had to do a whole thing of being like, do you know who I am? I have a Zoom with Sirius XM. Josh Adam Meyers, I'll have you know.
It is so important. I must talk about Nico.
Yeah. I must compare Nico and Lou Reed.
So that's if you would have had to do this outside, it wouldn't have been the first time that's happened. We had Neil Brennan. Neil Brennan forgot that he was recording the podcast and answered the Zoom while he was walking the streets of Brooklyn. And it was almost perfect because you would get people like, wait, you Neil Brennan? Like, hold up. It was great. Well, I'm glad you're here, man. And when they told me you were doing this one, I was stoked because I get to see you and I love you.
Yeah. This sounds fun. It's the Rolling Stones' most influential 500 albums or something?
Let me tell you something. The list is garbage. The list is garbage. If there was any momentum that could ever be built upon in this podcast, it's like we get Wu-Tang, the Beatles, and then Jefferson Starship live at the Poughkeepsie Amphitheater, and you're like, come on, man.
In my opinion, Jefferson never should have made the leap from atmospheric flight to space flight.
I mean, Elon Musk?
The Starship, yeah. We never needed Jefferson Airplane to be doing like trips outside of the Earth.
No, but before we get into anything, promote away, James, please. This is your moment. Take us through. What do you got going on? What are you doing?
This has come out now or in a month or something?
In 8 seconds.
Oh, it's immediately out. I'm on Jimmy Kimmel a lot playing Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy. And I just taped this special with Wanda Sykes and 25 comedians called Stand Out at the Netflix Festival at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles. And that's going to come out in June.
Yeah.
And it was pretty cool. It was like a big stand-up show with all the LGBTQ comedians. And they really practice on stage and backstage.
I know, I saw it. But look, man, I saw the lineup that you had up there, and I mean, really incredible performers, straight, gay, or anything. Just it was great comics up there. And it looks like it's going to be great. What a great venue to do it at. I mean, the Greek, that must have been amazing, right? The sound.
It really I was on stage and I was like, more people should do shows here. It's almost like they designed it such.
I saw
who?
I saw Kings of Leon there. Is that how you say him? Leon. I've seen Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. Great venue. Love the Greek.
It is awesome. Yeah.
And surprisingly, they do not serve any lamb-based food there, being that it's the Greek. That's my time, everybody. Okay. All right. Go follow me on at Josh Adam Meyers on all social
Wait a
media.
minute. They don't serve any lamb-based food
Greek.
because no one does. They wouldn't even have to implement that rule.
What are you talking about, dude?
You think?
Every 930 clubs got gyros.
Oh, you got lamb chops at the where
Shank.
else? Hollywood Bowl.
Shank chops, center cut, and even feet.
Are you a
I eat
lamb
it
head?
all.
Are you a lamb
Oh,
head?
dude, I'm on the road with lamb all the time,
You
dude.
put
I
like
make,
tzatziki and like rosemary or something.
if you cut me, it's just Habibi falls out. Habibi street meat comes out of my arms. But well, dude, yeah, everybody check out James on Kimmel. Check him out on the Netflix thing. My Netflix thing, I think, comes out the same week as yours. I did the Bill Burr Presents, and what a fun festival. I'm so happy to be back here in New York. Do love Los Angeles, but man, that
Are you
wore
living
me
there?
out. Yeah, I moved here in May, so I've been here over a year now.
I was gonna say it looks like that either a well-decorated Airbnb or that's where someone lives. That's not like a
yeah, it's me, dude. Dude, I did really good. I got rugs, I got throw pillows. Where's my throw? I'll show you the throw pillow later. But it's and then let me tell you this. This is what I think is so cool about the fact that we're doing this, and we already just started talking about New York, because I've always been the kind of person with Velvet Underground that I thought they were the ultra coolest of the cool. Like there's an expression that at DJ Morty Coyle, I just got off the phone with him, follow him, but he said something that I love, is that Velvet Underground are a band that their record only sold 10,000 copies. Every one of those 10,000 people that bought the record started a band.
That I don't know who originated that saying, but it's always said about the Velvet Underground, and particularly this album.
Yeah.
And
so
I love the image of 10,000, only 10, but 10,000 people going like, oh, I'm gonna start a band.
Yeah, man.
Like literally had to go run out and do it right then.
I mean, I never like, I guess it was a band that to me, when I looked at them, I was like, oh, they're just super cool, or I'm not going to get the music, or it's just a time and a place in the 60s and 70s where, the word happening and Andy Warhol and the Beat Poets and all of that stuff were kind of just this scene. And so, and I mean this, I say this every episode, and I hate to say it to all the listeners. Once again, this is my first time literally listening to a Velvet Underground album from start to finish. Now, here's what I liked about this is, before we get into any of the facts or how we got into it, is just like, this album hit so differently listening to it in Los Angeles and then listening to it in New York. Mm-hmm. Just the images, the sound, and everything. So for me, it was a really cool experience to like, all right, here we go. First time doing it, putting it on. I'm in New York. Wow. Putting it on LA. Okay. A little bit different. So that's me.
There's like references. There's references that are deeply woven into like New York City.
Very, very.
Where it's like, hey, white boy, what you doing uptown? And you're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, he's in New York.
Yeah, dude. So wait, tell me about, because you're always a guy that I've, I think you're hip. I know the music you dig. Well, actually, before we get into that, what are you growing up listening to? Like, what is like, is Velvet Underground in there at the beginning?
I'm not. First of all, I don't think of myself as hip because I don't know a lot of cool shit except accidentally.
Yeah.
As far as the Velvet Underground, I'm not like a Velvet Underground head. I'm not like an Andy Warhol stan. I'm not. I'm not like I'm not like a Nico fan. But here's the
Nico.
deal.
No, you know what you should have said right there. I should I'm not a Nico freako.
Thank you. I'm not a Nico freako. I like that. But they were always on the radio. I like to listen to the radio, and I like to listen to. I got into my mom's record collection when I was like 8-9 years old, and so I always liked that music from the 60s and 70s, and then I kind of like knew about them, but it wasn't ever my favorite. But then in my 20s I started to like them more because I guess I was doing more drugs by then.
Yeah,
and not necessarily heroin, which is like also hilarious how public the heroin addiction is all over this album.
Yeah, dude.
But sometimes I would be like, sometimes I would be really hungover, strung out for days or something, and like I used to do way more drugs than I do now.
Yeah.
And it would put you in bad moods, and
do you mind me asking what were your drugs of choice? Because I'm opiate. I'm alcohol, cocaine until about 26, and then from 26 until 36 I'm Vicodin ES, but favoring towards the end the Perk 30s. Big fan of Perk 30s.
I loved like bad combinations, like mushrooms and cocaine, or like marijuana and speed. Like I was doing dumb combinations like that when I was really young. And for the opiates, kind of always avoid them. Not really, no. But I lost someone who was addicted to them early on. So that was the one where I was like, don't step in that trap. But yeah. I did opiates accidentally a couple of times. That was when I had my mystery drugs I would find out later. I was like, oh, okay, that's what that was. And
it's like a grab bag of fun. You're like, all right, what are we getting in here? I'm a little sleepy, but I'm also constipated.
And I have literally chased the dragon twice, which is like I feel that's like, what am I, from the 20s? I guess now it's like 100 years later.
So all right, so you're doing drugs, you're listening to your mom's records. What has she got in there? And it's all this stuff?
Yeah, but like what I preferred, I like poppy stuff, or like the third most popular song on that particular Rolling Stones album. Like that's where I lean into.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Rolling Stones and Elton John, and I like the British Invasion, and there's this kind of New York sound that's there. And what's interesting is they always played the Velvet Underground on the radio growing up in LA. But when you go to New York, because I lived in New York 10 years ago or whatever, and they play it a lot more on the radio in New York because it's like a hometown band.
Yeah, I never heard Velvet Underground played in Los Angeles ever.
They do, but also conversely, you get like nobody would play the door. Like the radio stations don't play the Doors in New York because they're like, why would we?
Very LA band, yeah, for sure.
Very LA
band. But from everything I've read about the Velvet Underground is that they are a very New York band. Like they started it, like Lou Reed's from Brooklyn. He grew up in Jersey, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just looking. Here's all right, let's do a little biography on him and then we'll get into how you got into him. All right. So just so everybody knows who the Velvet Underground is. Lou Reed, born in Brooklyn, grew up in Jersey, regularly targeted by bullies and developed a variety of phobias and anxieties. At the age of 16.
Pardon me, sir. It's furthest from my mind.
Stop giving me a wedgie. At the age of 16, he started to experiment with drugs, hoping to deal with his problems. Reed's parents followed the advice of a psychiatrist and submitted him to electroconvulsive therapy. Many years later, he would write about the traumatic events of the treatments in his song, Kill Your Sons. But that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. He found solace in music. Here we are, back to the meat and potatoes. Formed a band called the Jades and had his first single at 16. He then took a job at Pickwick Records, and I like saying that, Pickwick Records, and wrote and recorded songs to help fill out albums on the label. It was there he met musician John Cale. Originally, the group performed under a number of names, which I don't know what they are, before settling on Velvet Underground in 65. Pop artist Andy Warhol became their manager in 66, and they served as the house band at Warhol's art collective known as The Factory in Warhol's traveling multimedia show, The Exploding Plastic Inevitable from 66 to 67. Their debut album, The Velvet Underground and Nico, with German singer and model Nico, was released in 67 to critical indifference and poor sales, but has since drawn wide acclaim. And then their second record, called White Light, White Heat, in 68, and once again had critical acclaim, but sold poorly. Worse than the first record, leading us up to today's record. So now everybody has an idea of who the Velvet Underground is. Is James still here?
Yeah, what? You can't see me?
Okay, no, I couldn't see you because it's just stuck on Jeremiah's face, and he's the last person I would be looking at right now. I want to see your fucking cutie patootie.
I love that when you think about all this, and you're like, it's the '60s, it's Andy Warhol, it's everyone has taken a bath in LSD by this point.
Yeah,
and then it's like the exploding plastic, whatever the fuck it is, and this is like 3 years before Woodstock still. And it always makes me laugh to remember that the president of the United States at the time was Lyndon Johnson.
Yes. My favorite of all the presidents. Love Johnson, dude. Huge Lijo fan.
I love imagining that he had, at some point, Lyndon Johnson heard this album and was like, in one of those White House tapes, was like, Bob, what's all this about the Velvet Underground? That's something we're going to have to get the military involved in. I heard that there's a femme fatale. They got this German chick singing about it. I want to report on that on my fucking desk, Mike.
I mean, it's like, should we be looking into somebody named Nico? Is that code word for maybe German spy or like a expressionist? I don't even know what expressionist is, but if we can get some of them expressionist missiles, that would help us tackle the Viet Cong.
Well, if they got a Venus in furs, then we're fucked up the ass, Mike.
White Light, White Heat. That's definitely a mission that they have coming up, and something about exploding plastic inevitable. What is inevitable about plastic, and why is it exploding?
If they're underground, that means it could be hidden in a velvet silo, a velvet missile silo somewhere, velvet underground.
Yeah, but I mean, all right, where the fuck are we? All right, so here you go. Pick it up. I could literally just do that for the next hour, and I think I'd be happy. And if the fans got mad, I'd be like, just suck it. Cram it with walnuts. All right, so tell me about that first time you heard the Velvet Underground. Do you remember where you were?
I don't remember the first time because I always knew the radio hits. I mean, I knew I'm Waiting for the Man, the big, yeah. That's the, and I still love it. But I bought this album in my 20s. They're now post Nico and post Warhol, I believe. And so they're just trying to be like, I don't know, maybe they're more normal hipsters.
Well, from my understanding here, I'll give us a little background on this record because we already did the background on the band. So where was it? So this is the third studio record by Velvet Underground, recorded in Los Angeles in 1968 and released in 69. Compared to the prior two releases, Velvet Underground and Nico in 67 and White Light, White Heat in 68, this album had more of a commercial sound. Now, I actually am going to agree with that because I went ahead and tried to get a little scan through of the previous records before that. And White Light, White Heat is like noise, proto-punk. It's really loud. It's like very intense. It's kind of, what I would expect, where they've got like 3 projectors running, all kind of behind them, and people are dancing. And
I feel like that album is the kind of thing, White Light, White Heat is the kind of thing that you put on really kind of to just show someone how cool you are. Like no one listens to it for any other reason.
Yeah. I mean, there was some stuff that I didn't like. There's some stuff that I didn't dislike about it, but it's definitely just a very, very different record than this. And then this record is what I've been told is kind of a bridge between see, we talked about on the last episode, quiet, loud, quiet. It's like the Pixies, Nirvana. So they just came off loud. This is quiet. And then what they do after is this is the bridge between white light, white heat, and then the record after this.
Yeah, and the one after this is what, in like 1970 or something, and it's like the one with the cartoon subway on the front.
Loaded.
And that one is more, I wouldn't say happy or optimistic, but it's more poppy, I guess, and like approachable.
But see, that's funny that you say that, because I actually think this is a very poppy record. I actually think this is like more of like a folk pop record where you're getting
where they came from, for sure.
For sure. Yes. All right. So hold on. So compared to the prior two releases, this album is more of a commercial sound. Yes. It was more straightforward rock and ballads about love, religion, and loneliness versus sex, drugs, and horror. Excuse me. Always get indigestion, regardless when I tape a podcast. Always. Reed did this intentionally to balance the abrasive white light, white heat, and felt the band had done as much as they could with that kind of sound. Lou also wanted other band members to sing on this record. Reed considered each song to be its own little play. All tracks were written by him. Despite critical success, the album failed to chart due to a lack of promotion from the band's record label. The poor sales...
I know what that feels like.
The poor sales led to the group being dropped from their record label. This was the first album the band released without founding member and bassist John Cale, who was removed from the band by Reed due to creative clash. Reed wanted to bring Yeah, Reed. Can we find out what they fired him for? Jeremiah, do that. Reed wanted to bring the band's music to a wider audience with more accessible music, while Cale wanted to do wild experimental things like record with amps submerged underwater. He's the Tommy Lee of the group. You know what I mean? Like, he wants the drum set spinning upside down. He wants to wear the butt thong. John Cale. People always made the comparison between him and Tommy Lee. The rest of the band didn't want to fire him, but Reed gave the group an ultimatum. He was replaced by band friend Doug Yule. Morale in the studio was generally high. Yule said that recording this record was a lot of fun. The sessions were constructive, happy, and creative. Everybody was working together. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a bunch of guys that are in the same room together, all recording at the same time.
Now, John Cale would come back, I think, for the next one. But I love that's a pretty big shakeup. You got rid of Nico and Andy Warhol and John Cale, and you're still calling it the Velvet Underground.
Well, I mean, that's your bread and butter, man. That's the coolness of the cool. Like, they're the Velvet Underground. They're like this thing. I just always looked at this bit, dude. When I showed up and I was wearing the sunglasses, like, and I'm dancing, like, looking through these tracks, this is so like 60s, 70s happening. Like, what goes on? First of all, the first time I heard it, we were doing a goddamn comedy jam at the Comedy Store, I think in August, and Burr was supposed to do it, and something happened and he couldn't. So we called Mark Maron like the day before, and Maron's like, I'm in. But Maron is that dude that's like,
man, what the fuck? What do you want me to play?
But no. It's not, what do you want me to play? It's, this is what I'm playing. It's not, I don't. Well, this is the funniest thing. There's a funny story about the first time he ever did the jam. It was the same situation. Burr had dropped out, and he called Mark, and Mark calls me up, and he's like, all right, so, what's the show? I tell him the show. He goes, okay. So we do a song. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, all right, well, I'm thinking like the Rolling Stones. And I go, perfect, dude. There's so many great songs. Pick something that the audience knows, and dude, you'll have the best time. And he goes, yeah, I could give a fuck about the audience. I'm going to do this 1968 B-side off a Japanese only release called Little Red Rooster. And that was kind of the situation for this. But I was like, what do you want to do? You want to do something popular? He goes, nah, man, I want to do What Goes On by the Velvet Underground. And it was actually really cool, James, because the
Mark
way that
did?
Yeah, it was really cool because I didn't know the song. The song sounds great, but he walked out there with his guitar right at the beginning. And as he told like a story, he would kind of like play these like blues licks. And then the crowd's just kind of behind him. And he's really got their attention because he's an incredible storyteller, an incredible comic. And then he just goes into this. And even that the band didn't, not the band, even though the audience didn't know this song, like it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like, I think who else, somebody did, you know,
wait, what do you want me to? You want me to be Uncle Joe Benson and play the fucking hits for you? Fuck! Why'd you come here?
That's good. That's a goodie. But yeah, he did it, and the crowd loved it, and that was the first time I had heard that. So when I put this record on, and What Goes On was there, you know, it immediately I was like, okay, I know this, and then you get to Pale Blue Eyes, which is
beautiful song.
Beautiful song, probably one of the most beautiful love songs I think that they've written. Let's find out a little bit about Pale Blue Eyes. The song was written for Reed's first serious girlfriend and true love, Shelley Albin. Although Shelley wasn't married and did not have blue eyes, details he changed to make the song work. He tried many times to get her back, and therefore what he had but couldn't keep.
Yeah, been there many times. Actually, that's funny. There was a guy, I hooked up with this guy in his car when I was like 24. And he puts this song on, and he was this Mormon guy.
You hooking up with a Mormon?
He was this Mormon guy from Provo, Utah, who was like trying to figure out his life. And so he's visiting West Hollywood for some reason. Drove down from Utah. And we hooked up in his car, and he had blue eyes and like blonde hair. He puts this song on, sadly, as a way of being like, I have a religion that I can't be with you. And so like we had just had clumsy car sex, and then we're smoking cigarettes, and he puts this song on, and he's like, you know this song? And I'm like, yeah. And I just listened to it, like staring out the window, and I think he was really sad because he had this dumb, well, you know, he had a dumb religion. He believed the wrong thing, and so he was like, well, I can taste your delights once in my life, but I'm not going to come back and make it a regular thing.
Delights, yeah, Turkish delight. My funny
Armenian delight. Thank you.
You're 100%. I should have known that. The
25%.
My experience with Mormon people, I don't know if this when saying that, it sounds like I'm about to say something really offensive, but it's not. When I was in high school, the bus used to pick us up at our stop, and then it used to drive out of the neighborhood, but there was a Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that was just built, that every morning the Mormon kids would have to go to, I guess, CCD. I don't know. It's like Hebrew school, but for Mormons. Every morning they'd have to go. And the bus would pull up, and there was about 7 kids. And as they all got on the bus, every morning I would sing, let's go play with the Mormon kids and run with the Mormon, play with the Mormons, be with the Mormon kids.
The way you say it sounds like Moleman.
Like I could be saying Moleman. I could be saying Moleman. They all live underground, like the Velvets. Like they're the Velvets, the Velvet Undergrounders.
Bob, we got to talk about this. We got some pale blue eyes out there. There's a major threat here to democracy. I want to know. I want to get a full report on my desk by Monday morning about what the hell is going on with these pale blue eyes. They're saying we can never be together. Is that some kind of economic threat for NATO?
So what sticks out to you about this record? Like, what are the things that you like? What are the moments or anything? Because I mean, I for one, I love that this is when it's like I said, that quiet, loud, quiet. It's like when it's really just chill, this album is very easy to listen to. And then when they turn it up on certain songs, like What Goes On, beginning to see the light, like I hearing that song, I just see a bunch of like the band playing it with like no emotion, and like girls in those like flowy, like, and I'm beginning to see the light, and the projectors going, you know what I mean? It's so happening.
Has that song been used for any commercial campaigns? I feel like maybe Velvet Underground avoided that, but Beginning to See the Light sounds like if it hasn't already, it's sooner or later going to be like a bank commercial soundtrack.
Possibly. Hold on, I lost my light.
It's like, I mean, it's up there. It sounds, it's such a rejoicing song, and I love that you zeroed in on the way they would have background singers that don't even move.
It's so like, like and you're just like just fucking just you're on mescaline, and you have that weird
song.
You have like real shouldery dancing. I mean, Candy Says is beautiful. What Goes On is more the upbeat. Some Kind of Love is a gorgeous song. Pale Blue Eyes, like I said, is probably one of their best songs, and probably one of the best love songs that Lou Reed has ever wrote. Jesus, I don't really remember it. Beginning to See the Light, I already said. I'm Set Free. Good song. The only one on it that I really didn't like is The Murder Mystery, but I feel like from what I talked to Morty that's like the bridge between White Light, White Heat, and then this record.
I'm trying to remember. Is it like the noisy song?
Yeah, it's the noisy 8-minute and 55-second song. And then After Hours, which is adorable because it's sung by Mindy. And she's got this very, like, I'm not going to say New York, Long Island, accent, but it's very New Yorkish. And it reminds me.
I want to sing a song.
Yeah, it's very like.
When do I get to sing a song?
It's very, do you remember in the White Stripes records, they have these songs at the end where it's like Meg White singing and Jack White singing, and then there's some other British girl singing, and it's just a very like sweet, like like and I just wanna be friends. Like, well, Jack White, I love you, yes I do. I scoo without and do. It's very cute, and I also thought it was like a really fun way. Let me see if I got any facts about this.
I like it when Josh Adam Meyers gets cute.
Oh man, it's tough with this voice.
He spends so long being gritty and tough. It's just a burden on his shoulders, and when he can let that off and let himself be the cute baby boy.
I can be very cute, regardless of the tone of my voice. I can. Oh wait, shit! My Zoom died. All right, Jeremiah, are you recording? Because the Zoom died.
The microphone device Zoom.
Oh, the recording Zoom. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I am recording.
I don't know what's going on with it. Hold on.
I want to listen to that song.
Which one? The White Stripes or the no?
No, I want to listen to the beginning.
Hold on. Let me just see if I can turn this back on. God damn it. Check. All right. All right, let's go. Let's see if we got any random track facts or anything. Candy Says, written by Lou Reed, sung by bassist Doug Yule. As a matter of circumstance, we did the third. It's not important. All right, let's get to something. What Goes On? The only single released from the record and is one of the happier Velvet Underground tracks. Some Kind of Love. Reed once called the song an alcoholic's dream realized. I wonder why. Pale Blue Eyes, we already talked about. After Hours, this is the one. After Hours is one of 3 Velvet Underground songs that drummer Maureen Mo Tucker sings on. Lou Reed chose to have Tucker sing it because it was too innocent and pure, exactly what I said, for his own voice and persona. This choice, whether intentionally or inadvertently, gave birth to a song beloved by Velvet faithful, specifically because it's so unique in the band's catalog. Tucker was so nervous while recording the song. In a 2012 interview, she said she had failed to lay down the vocals like 6 times. She finally said that everyone had to leave except her and Reed. And in 1980, Tucker said she would never sing After Hours again unless someone specifically requested it. But in 2012, she did it again. And performances of this song have gone on to be covered by REM, Blind Melon, and Anthony Kiedis.
Oh, that's cute.
It is very cute. It's a cute song. So I think it's a cute way to.
That's her stairway to heaven. She's like, I won't do it. And then, well, okay, I'll do it.
Do we have any other facts about this record that is interesting?
I want to hear
The album cover photograph was taken at Andy Warhol's factory, which was a hip hangout spot for musicians and celebrities of the day. And Lou Reed made his own mix of the album, which got dubbed the Closet Mix, which was actually released first in the United States. It was called that because it sounded like it was recorded in a closet. And the main difference is Lou's vocals were boosted and the instruments were lowered. The release of a separate mix disappointed the rest of the band, but the version we're talking about today is more widely available. All right. Well, that's all the facts I have about this.
You want to do the firing of Andy Warhol fact? The first filler fact?
Yeah, go ahead. Why was Andy Warhol fired?
So Nico moved on after the Velvets severed their relationship with Andy Warhol. Here's Reed commenting on why they parted ways with him. He says, he sat down and had a talk with me. You got to decide what you want to do, Andy said. Do you want to keep just playing museums from now on and art festivals, or do you want to start moving into other areas?
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's cool. I was just saying, Lou, don't you think you should think about it? And he says, so I thought about it and I fired him because I thought that was one of the things to do if we were going to move away from the art stuff is fire Andy Warhol.
Are you reading this off of something, Jeremiah?
Yeah.
Could you send it to me? Because I think there's something funny to do here, which is that little interview, just the wording of it sounded like the lyrics to a Velvet Underground song. So I want to see if I can make up a Velvet Underground song about firing Andy Warhol.
Have your email? Are you on the thing?
Or
what's the best email?
I
can put it in the chat. Yeah.
Well, I'm beginning to see the light. Well, I'm beginning to see the light.
Okay. So this is how he said it. Okay. So this is Lou Reed's comment on why they left Andy Warhol, and I think it works as an Velvet Underground song. He sat down and had a talk with me. You gotta decide what you want to do. Do you want to just keep playing museums from now on and the art festivals, or do you want to set moving into other areas? Lou, he said, you think you should think about it. So I thought about it and I fired him.
Because he would in the lyrics, he would have something. And then I said, hey, man, are you sure that's a good idea? And then he goes, come on, man, you're going to be complacent. I said, are you sure we're getting royalties? And that's when you got a doo-doo-doo.
Do you want to play museums? Or do you want to start playing bigger places?
Here's your question since we're talking about this. Is there?
He said, Lou, don't you think you should think about it? So I thought about it and I fired him.
Here, I have a question.
That's how that would go.
I have a question for you. Like, who was your Andy Warhol? And I mean that like helping. No. I mean, like, the way that Andy was instrumental in the band. Like, who was your Andy Warhol?
That's a good question. I like that. I mean, I don't know. Who is my Andy Warhol? Oh, I mean, there's like theater directors I had early on doing sketch comedy and stuff, I guess. There was like the mad genius of Patrick Bristow or Drew Droege that were like,
yeah, these are guys that were early on.
Groundlings figures, yes. Patrick Bristow was a Groundlings director and teacher. And Drew Droege is a prolific, amazing drag performer. And You should have Drew actually. You should have him on Goddamn Comedy Jam if he'll do it. But he's a storyteller also, and like it's really crazy. He's like a really crazy sketch comedy guy originally, which is how I know him, and super funny and insane, and actually kind of would be great at playing Andy Warhol if you put the right white wig on him. That's a fun part that like I feel like if you're gonna make a movie that takes place in the 60s, there's like a 50% chance that somebody gets cast in like an Andy Warhol cameo going like, oh hey, I love being here. That's like a juicy cameo for any reboot 60s thing. I want to see more Andy Warhol, 80s Warhol.
I mean, now I'm gonna sound like a fucking idiot when I say this. Is he that prolific? Like, was he like? I mean, the way that like he was. I mean, at one point, say he was the most famous man alive. Like, is it from the art? I know I'm gonna sound stupid, and people are gonna shit on me for this, but like,
yeah.
But here's
the thing. Here's the thing. It the artwork to us looks like in like the background of our life. We've always seen the soup cans and the Marilyn Monroe, so we're like, what's so great about that? But at the time,
yeah.
Believe it or not, no one had thought of that, and so it was like this ultra splashy, optimistic nihilism, or like cartoony. It's like this cartoony, pop friendly, ironic commercialism, and there's imitators. Lots of imitators come after him as far as an artist. But yeah, it's like I think that it just seems ubiquitous to us, so it doesn't seem interesting. And I guess at the time it seemed more interesting. Although, you know, he definitely was like, there's not a lot to understand that's not there on the surface. I went to the museum, the Warhol Museum in Pittsburgh, where he's from, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I'm not like a super Warhol fan. I'm glad I went, you know, and I looked at all the exhibits, and I come out of there and I'm like, all right, that was fun. I bought a shitload of shit at the gift shop. You better believe I did. I want to pretend I'm like I want to have what I've always liked is the idea of the factory. That's the coolest thing about Warhol's, the factory, where you're like, and there's just people always partying and fucking, and we're artists, and there's a never-ending party, and oh my god, you're it, you've got it, it's great, and you're just presumably just never sleeping. Nobody ever eats breakfast. It's just like constantly something hip and cool and artistic is happening.
There's no breakfast.
Yeah,
they're not allowed to. It's just like, no, it's we start at lunch.
Oh yeah, it's a good every meal. We have dinner for every meal.
I guess it is this like mythical place.
And then go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, it's just I get it 100%. I get it, but you said it perfectly. It's just like the soup cans were just around, and it's like it was never. You have to look at what it was like when somebody first did that pop art like that. You know, just took a picture and then just changed it enough, and like, oh.
And I think he was influential in the way that everyone imitated Andy Warhol, in the same way that Velvet Underground obviously has influences on a lot of bands that come after them, especially in the punk movement that comes like right after it. I think in visual art, Andy Warhol's influential in things that we don't consider art, like advertising and marketing and stuff, where they're like, oh, we can say something without saying it. Whoa.
Yeah. No, I get it. Let me see. Andy Warhol's, this is a Patreon question. And this is for you. Probably Andy Warhol's most decisive move as the Velvet Underground's manager was adding German model Nico to the band as a vocalist.
Which is like bad move.
Yeah, well, I was about to say that's the question: is do you think Nico was a good addition to the band?
To me, it's just purely comical. There's probably a bunch of Velvet Underground fans that are like, it's outrageous that he doesn't like worship John Cale and having nuanced opinions about Nico. And I'm like, I'm sorry. The whole thing about Nico is hilarious. You know about how she died?
No, tell me.
She was on vacation in Spain on the beach or something and went to go buy marijuana. And I think she fell off a bicycle, or someone like knocked her off a bicycle on vacation in Spain, and then she just died. Like, not a way that a grown-up should be able to die. And
Sonny Bono-esque, yeah. It's like weird.
Yeah, but it was like a touristy beach, and then like she died like having fallen off a bicycle. No one dies that way.
The bicycle was are also 15 feet in the air. It was one of those big ones with the big wheels. Just so you know.
Of course it was. That's how she vacationed.
Yeah, with the big wheel and the small wheel.
And I think it's because they didn't take her to the hospital. They didn't believe that she had a serious injury or something, and it's like it bumped her head or something. And that would be fun to have Nico formerly of the Velvet Underground, trying to be like, I've suffered an injury. I need to get medical care. Why can't she see the doctor? There's a lump on her head under her hair.
So you think she wasn't a good addition to the band?
No, I think it's comical. I think it takes it in this insane direction, this crazy detour that had to happen. And like so much about them is the early Velvet Underground is hilarious, where you're like, why are they fucking doing this?
What do you mean? Like, dude, I don't know a lot about the band.
Right. It's just they are funny to me. I put them on and I start like singing along, washing the dishes or something. This album, Velvet Underground, is actually probably the coolest one to listen to non-ironically, like to just actually be like, this is a great album.
There's nothing ironic about this record. There's nothing about this record that I would think is even rooted in the era that it came out. This is something that you can listen to now, and it hits just as good as it did probably back then, if not more, because of the test of time and all this stuff that's gone with it.
And the later one, Loaded, I like a lot too. And both of these albums I've listened to like on ecstasy or coming down from Molly or coming down from mushrooms or something. And this album is actually great for kind of coming down off of mushrooms, because it's like there's melancholy to it, but it's also like it's not dire,
Yeah.
I
get it.
It's like you're gonna come down here now, and then it's not gonna be that bad forever. But the early Velvet Underground is it's so cartoony. It's almost like when they start out, you're like, is this just an Andy Warhol experiment, like a gag? Like a fake band, and then they kind of prove that they weren't. They're like, in case you thought we were a fake band that was made up by Andy Warhol, we'll fire some people and do several more albums.
All right, where were we? All right, no more questions. Let's wrap this up. All right. We ask every guest these questions. This was great, dude. Favorite song on the record?
Pale Blue Eyes. And I do love Beginning to See the Light too. It's more optimistic, I guess, or it sounds that way, ironically. But I like those songs. I particularly like Pale Blue Eyes because I have a couple of deep emotional connections to it, I guess.
Sure. I think
fucked a guy in the back of a car.
For sure. And that's the only way you can really listen to a song, is while fucking a guy in the back of a car.
You're supposed like Lou Reed is that kind of like cryptic drug-fueled bisexual rock lord. You're supposed that's the way to enjoy that song.
Does it make you like Lou Reed more, knowing about his sexual proclivity?
Yeah. Some people get really nerdy and specific about the high fidelity speakers or whatever, like how to listen to a song, certain kind of, it's got to be 180 vinyl or whatever. But like to me, the real experience is you've got to be like fucking or getting throat fucked with a guy, and while Lou Reed is on to get the true audio experience of the song.
Yeah, I get that. I'm gonna say Pale Blue Eyes too, but I what goes on, man? I really dig that. All right, what's your least favorite song on the record?
I'm trying to remember the one. I don't. I mean, I wouldn't say it's my. I guess I just don't remember it much. Is that the noise song on the second side? It just goes in one ear out the other.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Murder Mystery too. What song on this record would you fuck to? Like, what are you putting on? Well,
I've
you
answered that one
it.
already.
Yeah, you already said it. Yeah. This was great, dude. This was so much fun. Promote your social media, whatever you want to promote. But again,
hey, yes, Instagram at James Adomian, and like I said, I'm on Standout on Netflix in June, and I'm gonna be in Vancouver and Seattle later in May.
nice. Where are you doing in Vancouver?
The JFL Vancouver,
Yes.
the Biltmore Cabaret. Are you gonna be there?
I am not, but I'll be. We'll be seeing each other. Don't worry.
I know. I love seeing you at a festival. Those are good times.
That's the best. I'm so happy everything's open up again. It's nice to be making
Yeah,
money
man.
again. Yeah, dude. Fucking
Yeah,
out there. Well, hopefully next time I see you, we're in the backseat of a car fucking. You know what I mean? That's
Well, it's harder to do in New York City, but I guess you can summon me there.
we'll figure it out. Thank you, brother.
I love you, Josh. Great to see you. Thank you.
I love you too.